It's like a week ago that Amber Geiger actually faced consequences for being, a cop and completely needlessly killing someone. And a week goes by and we have another instance of that. This time we have footage. So let's talk about what happened to Atatiana Jefferson. At around 2 a.m. local time on October 12th, a neighbor of this 28-year-old called a non-emergency hotline saying he was concerned about an open door at the woman's residence and wanted to make sure she was okay. So this is a neighbor who was worried that something might be wrong. He didn't call 911 or anything like that. And unfortunately, a cop was sent there and started to circle her home. And we have the footage, but honestly, I don't even know, like I was going to play it because it's important that you know how quickly this cop went from shouting at her in her home to shooting her.
Right.
Do you think it's acceptable to play? I heard, it seems like 1 second, but I heard 2.
It does seem like 1 second, yeah.
So why don't we play it?
I think you should.
Because this is not a particularly, obviously it's a graphic footage. It shows a person being killed. But it's not as graphic as you might imagine. And I think it's important that you see the timeline that we're talking about here as we give you more details.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
He was speaking as shooting, it's what that sounded like to me.
That didn't seem like 2 seconds to me.
Okay.
It seemed like shorter than 2 seconds. So he's called on a non-emergency hotline to just check in, to see what's happening there. He begins circling, looking in each window, and as soon as he sees a person, he shouts and shoots.
Right.
And the thing that struck me as I saw that was this neighbor, who apparently has her best interest at heart, called to help her out. She would have been safer if almost any criminal had showed up that night than if this police officer had shown up.
This also, this is something, two things that I think are important here that we see often in a lot of these cases. It's like they didn't respond to my commands, and it's like,
how could she have?
Not only is there not enough time, it's not reasonable. And sometimes we've seen horrible videos where they're saying, get down on your knee, and it just gets confusing.
They shout contradictory things.
Yeah, like supposed to like be able to speak dog. It sounds like barking. Yeah. Like, let alone think about being inside the window and hearing the sound come through the walls in the window. The camera is on his body, and I can't make out exactly what those words were.
I don't know exactly what he said.
Exactly. And so your life is dependent on you being able to decipher that immediately when you're not doing anything wrong. You're in your house, everything is normal. You hear some weird noise, it scares you.
Yeah.
But because you don't immediately decipher what that scared officer is saying, you die. And also, I think what's important here is a lot of people are like, black people cannot call the police. You cannot call the police. It's unsafe to call the police. This was a situation that wasn't supposed to be violent. It wasn't a situation where an officer should have been gun happy. This was a situation where someone—
Why was his gun in his hand?
Right.
At all. He was told to just look in to make sure that she's okay.
And it's like almost like he was like trying to like catch somebody. Why didn't you go and knock on the door? The door was wide open. Why didn't you ring the doorbell, knock on the door? Why didn't you yell something through the open door? It was like, okay, let me try and catch somebody.
The guy didn't say that like 2 random people I've never seen before just broke into her house. He said the door's open. Presumably she's there, and a great way to find that out would be to knock on the door. So she had moved, exactly. So she had moved home. That was her mother's house because her mother was sick. She was apparently playing video games with her nephew. And so imagine you're sitting in your living room, you're playing a video game with your nephew, and you hear someone shout, and instantly you're shot. How could you possibly respond? How could you do anything, literally? How could you turn your head in the time it takes before he shoots you dead? Why do we hire the most afraid people in the country to be cops? Like the people who are most scared of just seeing a person who he knows she's supposed to be in that house. The call comes in, it doesn't say there's a door open to a deserted house, it's to a place where people live.
Right.
And the first time he sees a person, he checks one window, doesn't see a person. He checks another, doesn't see a person. Checks a third window, sees a person, shoots them dead. Why, like this person is being questioned today, I saw. How was this person not questioned beforehand? Some sort of basic psychological screening to see, is this person so scared of simply seeing a person that they feel the need to kill them?
Seeing a black person.
Exactly, yes, seeing a black person and feeling the need to kill them. And I saw some quotes from the person who called it in initially, and they're obviously devastated because they feel partially responsible because they try to do the right thing and call a non-emergency hotline to get some help for this woman.
Yeah.
And now she's dead. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.